To get nice renders in V-Ray with Rhino, we have to work on a couple different more factors. What I'm going to do with this model is we're just going to look at this perspective site pool. I actually want to go a little bit lower for this view so we can see a little bit of the high horizon and you see some of the lights on the inside. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set a new view as we start this process, and I'll just call this our low view. Okay. And for the purpose of this, I'm going to go ahead and lock the view. Essentially, what we're looking at now is we want to work on the background light. There's some lights I've placed on the model. They're in a particular layer. What I can do is connect that layer to a V-Ray material so I can control the lighting. Then I can add some site elements like lamps here. Maybe do a mesh light on the inside of the water. Also, the water is a little bit, if we just do a render right now, the water is a little bit without any reflection. So we're going to work on that. I'm going to bring the buffer to the window. We can just sort of see how things look immediately. Okay, so we do have a background already. And I'm actually going to look at the sun so we can sort of coordinate all these. Essentially, go to our V-Ray menu and we look at the sun control panel. You can see that we've set this up to sort of a later time of night. And if I go into my asset editor and I look and I see sort of what sort of light is there, I can look and I can see that when I click on settings and I look at my environment, that my background is set to my sunset sky, okay, evening sky. And so that could be downloaded with Cosmos normally here, where you can just look at the HDRI maps. So this is where I downloaded it. You go to from Cosmos Online, HDR evening, and that's where I found a lot of great evening sunsets. So I went ahead and downloaded this and set that up. So that's one of my first things to do. We can go ahead and look back at the frame buffer, and we can sort of see the things we want. We want our lights on the inside. We want our water to be more water. Add some lights in the water and some lamps. We're locking this view so we don't have any frustrations. To see some of the lights that are in the model, I actually just have this at my bottom view. And so right now, so what I can do is, it doesn't really matter because I have it on wireframe, but I can see any of these little lights. The idea of each of these lights is on my lighting layer. And so these lighting layer, it has an emissivity. However, what I can do is I can go into my asset editor and really link that with a proper light. And so currently in my materials, I'm not really having any emissive ones now. So I'm going to add to scene my LED 5500, and it's set to an intensity of 1. I'm going to go ahead and make it closer to like 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this to my layer. This is going to be my lighting layer. So I just have like a default there. And another thing I'm going to do is, because I'm not for certain about how the glass is working, so I'm going to go in here. So this glass right here, this glass, which you can see is on the GH window layer, that glass also would be helpful by being a V-Ray material. And so I have a glass coated black in here. However, I probably want to change the opacity a little bit to 0.4, and I can apply that to the layer of that GH window material. So I just edited that. I've increased that light. We're just going to see how that turns out. And we'll just go to our frame buffer. And so now we have some lights coming from the inside of the model. So you can see it's a little bit brighter. That reflectivity is coming off. So that's already getting better. And one thing I can do is just come back out here, and I could always change the exposure as well. But I think I could play with how the glass is sort of reflecting. So I'm going to put 2.5 here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go and I'm going to do like some more lighting. So I'm going to go to the lighting layer. I'm going to look at the pool. And currently, you're seeing a clipping plane that I created. The clipping plane helps me sort of see if I was like wanting just to see the lights, I could just clip it. But since we're not really going using that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. I'm going to hide the layer so it doesn't show in V-Ray at all. Sometimes that's what you can use if you're refining these. But what I'm going to do is, in my top view, I'm going to go ahead and create lights that would be a strip around the pool, maybe on the right and left side. I'm going to go to my mesh tools, and this is going to be turned into a V-Ray light. And you see there are a few ways of doing V-Ray light with materials or just taking a mesh that's in the model. And I'm just going to make a mesh box. I'm going to make sure my settings aren't too much. Just 5, 2, and 2 for my count divisions. I'm going to start here to do just 2 by 2, or actually 12 by 2 by 2. And then 12 by 2 should be fine for just saying how it's going to be. And I'm going to say 2 inches at my height. All I need to do for here is just scale my 1D. I want this to be the length of the pool. And if I come back and go to a side view, front, or any of those sort of sets, and I keep it in my wireframe, then I can very simply pull that below the water. Maybe sort of see where the water is. And so to see where the water is right there. So it needs to come something like there. And I'm going to now turn it into a V-Ray light by clicking on the convert to mesh light. All right, so that already sets it up as a light. I'm going to mirror. So that actually is going to be the same object. You can now see it in my lighting command as mesh light here. So it says mesh light 30. And what we can do is just come to our view again here and render this. Now we should be able to see a little bit of that, though we didn't set up the water material yet. So let's go ahead and set up the water material. So that's going to be the little element before that one. So what we've done is we use a simple before in this model where there's a glass, there's water blue. However, in liquid, you also have the ability to set up water that has waves, and we can do something like this or like this. And I think I'll choose this one. I'm going to add this to the scene. And the idea is, instead of selecting everything, I'm just going to select that to that material, or add to the selection, sorry. So that's going to be that selection, take this water. And so what I have here is the option to make a bump map. And the bump map is based off material. If you click here in the texture slot, it's based on a Perlin distortion, where I can increase that amplitude. So it's sort of really light right now. Right, but if I increase something like frequency, you'll start to see like little variations. So that's going to make it look a lot more like there's more wind. It's not just still water. Okay, so I set that for the water, and if I come back to my waves, they come in and set a little bit of an opacity so you can see the light below it. 75, okay, 0.75. So let's go ahead and see that render again. And I'm going to use my region render. I can just focus on that area. So I render it. So still having a little challenge seeing the light. But let's go ahead and try that just one more time. Just make sure for my material that we are working with the right material. Okay. And that is going to be that selection. You can see that material that's going to be used. It's actually in the pool layer, which is fine to set it as a layer as well. Apply it to this pool layer in general. Okay. And I think there's definitely a little issue with how much light is being in the model. I'm going to put this to down 0.55. I'm going to actually also increase up the lighting from my LED to something like 5. So as we're checking on how we can get everything to be working a lot better, we're doing that. Okay. So water's here. And what we can maybe do is maybe we can come and make for our waves or process, reduce this a little bit. 0.25. Right. I'm also going to check the resolution for my test render, because I'm really on test render mode at the moment. So I'm doing medium. My output 800 by 450, just so I can get a feel of everything. Okay. And it might be some of the sides as well, but you can see like the variation in the wave. If I increase that quality a little bit, we can start to see it. Even I just go just a little bit with the size, you see a little more resolution for what's happening here. Okay, so pretty much just it's reflecting, it's water, but it also is showing that wave there. Okay, and just for seeing sort of that real-time render, I'm going to go ahead and put on real-time render just quickly so we can just continuously see the effect as we change the water a little bit. Let me hide that material set here. So if I take this down to 0.05 like it was before, you see a very cool water. So it's cool water versus a wavy water. It's just that there's low light in the scene at the moment. You're not seeing too much of anything. But I'm going to leave it at a little bit more than just the base layer. Okay, so now if we take in our V-Ray buffer, turn off our region render, now see our light area. And the idea is we don't see it all the way around because I think it's pretty low. If we do something like 150, you'll start to see it pushing a lot more around. And so another way to sort of increase the effect of lighting here as well is just to create, maybe in addition to that set of lights, maybe a little bit of something like a either a spotlight or a rectangular light that sort of just goes around the edge of that pool. And one of the ways that this is these things work for these V-Ray, we'll just one of the things for V-Ray, we're working on something like this. Let me just verify what I've selected. Okay, so I've just created that in my model here. a rectangular light. So the way the rectangular light is, it acts like it's not see-through unless you go to your asset editor and hide it. And the idea for me is I definitely want to hide it. So this little rectangular light, I would make it invisible. But I want it to impact the area, and so that might be one of the things that I could actually do if I just pull it down. We'll just go to perspective and our wireframe. And just make sure we've selected that. And the idea is pull that down, and we can also go ahead and turn it back to be more visible. But pretty much the idea is, you can see now it's pulling a lot more light into the situation. So where before it was hard to see, now you're seeing light all over this area. And so that was a really nice way of how that, sort of seeing what that does. And like if I make it lower than the edges of my little light here, you can even see a lot more there. So if I go too low, you can't see it because there's like a little material there, but it's fun just sort of to see this way. I'm going to turn my shaded on just quickly. I'm just going to hide some of these things, because again, I want to fix my model up a little bit. What I have here is my infinite plane, which needs to give me a little bit of a respite right here. That's one of my challenges, is getting below that infinite plane. Okay, and now I can have my rectangular light go a lot lower. Right, and now I can turn my show back on, and so you see this low visibility water it's very low visibility. So in terms of lighting up that pool with that area light, what I could do is come back here, and for that process wave, increase that just so that's doing a little more reflection, not just being captured by that. I'm just doing it in between where you can see some of the below emittance of the pool, as well as just sort of getting that reflection. And we can always just go to our area render, so that we all have this visible from here. Okay, and so that's obviously very light. We can actually lower that that LED for the our mesh light. Just click here, mesh light. So maybe these mesh light can be back to 50 or something like that. 75. And okay, all right, so that's one way of just providing that little ambient light there. Now I think those two are nicely set up. I'll turn off my interactive render. What we can do now is go to the process of adding some lights from Cosmos for the site. So night lights in Cosmos are pretty basic. You can go ahead and just do like the normal set here, where we're going into our 3D models, and in the lighting area there's outdoor lamps, and some of these are sort of off in scale, so you have to be a little careful with these. I've selected some of these. Some of these are really big, so the great thing is about it, you can sort of rescale the majority of these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a layer called Cosmos lamp, And on that layer, from the top view, I'm going to put down a good lamp, and one that you can sort of see and just go around. I think this sort of light is really simple. But it would be nicer if it was a little more like this, where I could just sort of catch that glow. But however it is, it still sort of illuminates the site. So I'm just going to choose this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it at the edge, this corner here. And the idea is, because of the height that I have it here, I will need to scale a little bit. You see here. So it's not even on the ground when it came in. Let's just pull it up, have it on the ground here, and let's do a little bit of scaling. And I'll just do 3. And if I want to do uniform scale, I can just do scale here and just click a base point. At 3. And I just want something that's taller than people, of course. Okay, so that's going to be my light here. And if I go into my asset editor, I'll have the ability to set the intensity of light. So I do 15 here or something. And that's going to be for all of the duplications as well. So if I want to set one here at this corner, come back over here, set one here, and do a similar set. It's getting all the way to the corner here. It's sort of a small amount of space on this walkway, so it seems. But still, the way we have it is just put it right at that corner, not really taking up too much space there. Okay, and so I just wanted to place 4 here, and I'll probably put some actually on the side as well, just to so we'll have it better lit in general. Okay, and so just have a set of lights there. And I think we'll just do this in plan. I'll simplify that a lot. So yeah, just putting those on the corners there. Okay, so I just put those lights there. I set a intensity, and what we're gonna do now is just choose that normal render and turn off region render. Right, and so actually we'll stop that first. Turn that off now. Now do our render. So now we have a lot more light in our space. Some light from the site. Our pool glowing a little bit, which is nice. And we have our nice evening site.
And now here's our final render. You see that there's a great background. I also just took it into Photoshop when you save as PNG. We have a nice pool that you can see very clearly reflecting in the design. We have it glowing from the inside, as well as some nice cosmos lights. Of course, you can do any edit to the scene. But the basic thing is getting those materials, getting those lights and settings working together, and you'll have a great night render. Thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe for more content from the studio, and see the links for the full course.